gorgeous human beings, and welcome to the channel, the summit of sisterhood. Yesterday was such an incredible day, and today we have three gorgeous treats for you, and we're kicking off the day with Colleen. This woman is truthfully one of the kindest people I've ever met, and there's something about her energy that always feels like home. I have a feeling you're going to sense this from her in the conversation that we're going to have today. I've met my match with emotions. I think we're the ones who've cried the most in this channel. Sensitive and caring and deep. This woman has a story, one heck of a story, and she deeply cares about people. And it's one of the things that really makes me fall in love with her more every time I talk about her, is always about other people. Will someone get something from this? Does someone get touched by this? Do I help someone today? And I very rarely in my life met someone with that at the forefront of their mind as much as Colleen. She's one of a kind. And for so many sisters in the channel has been, there's no words to describe what she's been. She's just this presence for people. And I don't even know if she knows, which is another part of what makes her so spectacular, is that I don't even think she knows. And so I'm very excited about this call with her. I decided not to wear makeup because I know I'm going to cry. So I've decided to go ahead of myself and just not even bother. Already crying. Okay, so on this note, let's bring Colleen up with me. Colleen, how are you this morning?
I'm good. It's been quite the 24 hours.
So you got a tornado warning, and now your husband's taking care of the kids, and you're still here.
Yes, there was warnings going off all night, and school is closed due to damage from tornadoes. I just shut off my phone to make sure we don't get interrupted by any more warnings, and we're just going with it.
Kind of mind blown by you and your power and poise. If at any point you need anything, you'll just let us know. We'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'd love to dive into with you is like sisterhood, and what happened for you in the channel? Like, what kind of experience did you have as a unique person? What was your experience?
So when I entered the channel, I didn't know any of these women, and I mean, I entered on an intuition of like, a pull, you have to do this. And it didn't make any sense. And I kept it from my husband for a while because I'm like, I can't ask him. Like, this is just crazy. I don't even know what I'm doing. And like, it's thousands of dollars. And when I went to him, he's like, yeah, babe, whatever. Like, I trust you. So that was a great way to enter. But also, like, my business wasn't completely where some others were. And so I felt small entering the space, but a part of me knew that I belonged. And so, I just decided that I did, because being an AFE with you for a whole year, I heard you say, like, there is a seat at the table for you. Pull up your chair. Like, it's okay. Like, and so I did. I just trusted that you were right. And I pulled up a chair, and I was me, and I watched and I listened, and I saw myself in every one of these beautiful souls. And these women, oh my God, they are unlike any women that I know. They are just extraordinary people. Like, we all honor each other's everything. Like human design. I'm so glad that you bring this into your business, because we understand each other more based on our human design, and we really honor each other because of how we're designed. And we know that we're all like this unique frequency, like you're red and I'm blue and someone else is purple, but like, we all belong as part of this spectrum. We all have our place. And it's just so clear being in the channel that that's what we are. We're like a part of the whole, and it's so beautiful.
I just love how you said we all honor our everything. It feels like That's probably the best way to explain what this was. It was like everyone has a lot on their plate. A lot, everyone has everything. Everyone is carrying an entire world. And the honoring of that, I think, was such a big, beautiful piece of this sisterhood in the channel. Watching people be able to say, I see all of that and I accept all of that and I love you. That's been quite spectacular. So do you have any particular like moments in the channel that really stand out for you when you were like, oh my gosh, I actually do belong here right now? Like, when did it hit you?
There's a few. Okay. So when we went to Tulum, we had our retreat in Tulum, and it was this gorgeous sisterhood meeting, and there was so much healing that we offered each other. And that was a week of transformation for me. Like, I went with the intention of creating sisterhood and like talking to all the women. And what I came out with was just a completely different person, because I spent the whole week like shedding layers and healing and deepening. And it was just beautiful. And Homaya, that woman is magic. We were in this circle, and one at a time, she's giving healing to everybody, and she'll do something to you, whatever it is that she does with her magic, and you fall back, and the other sisters will like guide you down. And then, like, for me, she I go up to her and I'm ready. Like, I am ready for this. And she's like, okay, what do you want? I'm like, everything. Like, okay. So she stepped back and she thought about it. She's like, I'm gonna blow on your heart. I was like, okay, like you do you, right? Like, okay. And she leaned over and she just so gently just blew into my heart, and I fell back, and I was like one with everything. And I felt my body vibrate in a way that it never had before. And I remembered what it was like to just be so happy and innocent and pure love. That was a really defining moment for me, because I had struggled for a long time up until that point.
That's
And
so
it just completely changed everything. And that frequency is always there within us, but she reminded me of what it was. And so now I can call upon it and I can re-feel it again every time that I need to. So that was definitely a defining moment. But also when we were in Tulum, like Danielle and I shared a cab from the airport to Tulum. And like, we've never really talked before. And we were just chit all the way there. And then like, she invited me to this grand hotel, and like, it was just so amazing. And I'm like, you don't even know me and you're inviting me. Like, what is this life? And it was just so beautiful. And then I love you, Danielle. And then my birthday. Okay. So I grew up with like this feeling like the white sheep of the family. I'm not going to say black sheep, because I'm like, from the angelic realm, and like everything's white and gold and wonderful. But, feeling like an outsider, feeling like maybe you don't belong, and feeling like you're so alone and nobody really gets you because you're a little bit different and unique. And being in the channel, in years prior, my birthday might have been missed or not celebrated. And this year, I had two channel sisters fly to Tampa to meet me. We spent the day shopping. We went to Louis Vuitton for the first time, and we texted you like, we're in Louis Vuitton. And I got the most gorgeous wallet. And I got so many birthday presents from the channel ladies, and I got so many messages. And like, even before I jumped on the call today, it's like message after message after message, so much support. I just overflow. And every time it's like a reminder, like, yes, you belong. Yes, you're enough. Yes, it's good. It's just so good.
gosh. These these stories for me are the most important, because I think a lot of times when people enter, especially in the coaching world, when they enter a coaching container, they will often limit their listening, their love, their respect to the one person they've decided is the one. And I feel like what made this channel so powerful is that I wanted sisterhood for all of us. And do you remember at the beginning of the channel where I was like, if we end this space and all of you feel close to me but not to each other, we will have failed this container. Like, the goal is that when this ends, you guys are friends forever, that you have each other forever, because I will have to run different containers. But if you guys get it, if you get it, this will be a forever kind of thing. And I think that that was nailed.
It was. It truly was.
The amount of care and love and support that you have given, though, I'm not surprised that this is what you received, because you really have been such a beautiful light in this channel.
Thank you.
So how would you describe your life now? Like, how is life now?
As opposed to when the channel began?
Just how's your life? Like, how do you describe yourself? What is life like? What do you do? What's this current still shot of your life?
Now life is what I decide for it to be, because I've come to learn. So at the beginning of the channel, Rad gave me a recommendation. She said, you need to read Conversations with God and you need to know Dr. Joe. I was like, okay, Rad. And so now I've come to really understand that we create our own reality with our thoughts and with our feelings and with our energy. And so now in the morning, I wake up and I get in the shower and I say, today is going to be heaven on earth. Today is going to be a beautiful day. Today is just anything that doesn't happen my way or any judgment that I want to put on it is just going to fall away. And I'm just going to, honor what today is and that everything is happening for me. And this is how I've decided that I want to start every day, because we truly get to create it. And it's in every moment of now what we're deciding to think, what we're deciding to feel, how we're deciding to have our energy. And I'm just so aware now that I need to bring good energy forward so that I can create the good life that I want to have.
That is beautiful.
And I cherish the moments, like when my kids come home from school, like cherishing those hugs and the smiles and just being present, when you go on a walk, just being so present and feeling the wind and how it supports you, like being so mindful.
So something you shared with me that I think will give people some really intense perspective. Like, I think whenever we see people in life that have a kind heart and they have this beautiful outlook, the way you've just described, and they connect with people, and they've got these stories of sisterhood, of this person recommended this to me, and this person took me out to this hotel, and I had this beautiful experience in Tulum with my sisters, and it just sounds like, well, I guess some people just get lucky in this life, but you have a story, and I think it would be such a beautiful opportunity for people to just see what's possible when you put your mind to it and your heart to it and you decide to heal your life. I will put a trigger warning on this. So if you're watching this and there's any like trauma sensitivity to intense topics, this might be one of them. But it is one of them. And so if you are willing to share your story with us, I think that would be amazing.
Thank you for that invitation. When I had my one-on-one call with you, I was like, oh, she doesn't need to know my story. Like, let's not talk about it. I try to hide it and just show up for other people. So this is actually the first time that I'm publicly speaking about my personal journey, which is different for me. So,
Are you
as
still okay to
Melanie,
do it?
yeah, I'm good. Let's do it.
Right.
So, growing up, everything from the outside looked wonderful. But from the inside, it didn't always feel so wonderful. There were many different traumas that I went through, and I don't think we need to talk about exactly what those were. But what I think is more important is that, when I was 15, I, was talking to God quite frequently, not quite understanding why things happened the way that they did. Um, and I was quite upset with him for a long time. And I just decided like enough was enough and I was done and I couldn't handle it anymore. And so I decided to attempt. And when I woke up from that attempt, that was the moment that I was like, okay, like if that was meant to happen, it would have happened and it didn't. I'm still here. And so I need to listen to my like inner guidance. And I know that I'm meant to do big things. And I know that right now life is hard, but I also know that I'm meant to be here because I woke up. And so, I went to therapy and I'm 15. I'm sitting with this therapist. It's like 3 days in, and this lady's just like writing on this notepad. And I'm like, I told you everything about me. I know nothing about you. And as far as I know, you're just scribbling stuff over there. You're just doodling. Like, is this really how we're helping people in the world? And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. Like, it's just not enough. This is not good enough. And, you know, through my journey, my mom has always kind of pushed me to like helping other people. She's like, this is just who you are. People just gravitate towards you. You just help people. And so I finally took her up on it and decided to become a therapist. But when I was, helping people in therapy, they were just getting to this point of like stuckness that we couldn't go beyond. Like we just could give them the coping skills. I could help them with their nervous system regulation. Like I could do every technique that I knew, and we were still getting to this stuck point that they just couldn't move beyond. And so, in Colleen fashion, I just dug really deep and I researched the heck out of, our brains and neuroscience and why we think and why we act and why we feel and all of the things. And I finally found what makes that shift occur for people. And now I am so happy to be in this coaching space, in this healing space, to be able to help women with this because it's what I needed. It's what I needed when I was 15. It's what I needed every day up until I found it so that I could free myself, because we all are here for a reason. Like I said earlier, we are all a color on the spectrum. And we really need to release all of these stories, all of these limiting beliefs, all of these things that we went through so that we can really get back to our original blueprint and show up and do what we're meant to do in this world. I love you.
I love you. I love you. And I love that this is, when they say like not all hurt people, some hurt people. Well, people say hurt people. I say not all hurt people, some hurt people change the world. I feel like that is such a beautiful representation of you, because in a time where it would have been so easy for you as a 15-year-old who already was struggling to find purpose in life, who gets this conversation with a therapist that makes it feel not personal, that makes it feel not enough, that could have been another reason to be mad at the whole world. That could have been another reason again to say, what's the point? But instead you said, this is not enough. This doesn't help people. And you really did do incredible research to become the person that you are. And you even have this process you want to show the group also about the brain. Is that something you think would be a right time to dive into?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to get a whiteboard where I'm excited for this.
This is my favorite thing to do, just so you know.
Okay.
Okay. Let me just figure this out though. Hold on. I hope that this can work for everybody. Okay. No.
We need to screen share you think? Okay, got it.
Oh, yeah.
This is savvy. This is tech savvy. I can't do
Oh,
this.
do you like it? Isn't this great? Okay. So it's not like, the cutest, most, artsy thing, but hey, okay.
It's going to be good enough. It's going to be perfect.
Okay. You see this?
So right now I'm seeing communicate with comments. Press C to make a comment to others in the whiteboard. Is that what everybody else sees as well, or do you guys see something different?
Who can see what you share?
Oh,
Do you see
well,
a circle?
other people see a circle.
You
So
can't see my circle, Lenny?
I can't. But you know what I'll do? I'll jump into the group unmuted and I'll get to see it from my phone. Go for it.
Okay. Okay. But oh no, not everybody is seeing it. Well, how the heck can we make everybody see this?
I see the circle from my phone.
Explore new tools.
On the replay in the Facebook group, it's working. On some people's sides, it's preparing a whiteboard. We're getting different things.
Do you want me to draw it on paper? And just kind of like hold it up?
Maybe it's better. It's a shame because this was going to be quite awesome. But I don't think we'll all be able to see it.
Let me just try one more time.
Okay.
So I'm going to say all participants.
I can see it on my phone. I wonder if everybody looked at it on a phone, if they could see it. But you know what? People will be able to see this on the replay. Oh, see, all of a sudden now I see something. I see it now. I see. Oh, I think everybody's seeing you now.
We got it?
We got it.
Hey, thank you for being so patient, everybody. It's going to be worth it, I promise. Okay. So here's your brain. It's not like atomically correct or anything, but this is like the most simple way that I can show you what I'm trying to explain. Okay. So we're going to cut it in half. And over here, this is your long-term memory. And over here is your short-term memory. Okay. So in the long-term memory, you have all of these like dots. They're like file cabinets, okay? They're actually called nodes, and they store information. So you have a dot about like all the different kinds of dogs, all the different kinds of cars, like everything that you know. And then between those are these neural pathways that connect them so that you can access the information that you need. So for example, the way that this might work is if I say to you, think of a fruit that is red and crisp and juicy, what might you say? Yes, an apple. So in order for you to get that, you had to know that red was here and crisp was here and juicy was here, and that took you to apple, right? That's how it all kind of connects together. So what happens during the day is that new information will come into your brain and it will be stored in the short-term memory. So for example, today I'm going to tell you that I have a dog and his name is Murphy. Okay, so that little dot in the short-term memory, that's Murphy. And when you go to sleep at night, what's going to happen is it's like you have this filer guy that hangs out between your short-term and your long-term memory. And what he does is he takes this new information and he figures out where it belongs. He's like, okay, so this is Murphy. Murphy's a dog. Dogs are actually right here. So he's going to take it and he's going to file it away into where the dogs are. And then when you wake up tomorrow, you're going to remember that I have a dog and his name is Murphy. So far, so good. Okay, let me take a little. So now tomorrow, let's just say you are in 7th grade English class and you have to give a presentation. And so you go up in front of the room and you have your paper in front of your face and you are shaking and your armpits are sweating and you're just trying the best that you can. And all of a sudden you hear people in the classroom like making noise and talking and you're like, what is happening? And so you're like peeking over your paper and they're laughing at you and you're like, holy Jesus. And like, you just try to get through it as quickly as you can. That's what you didn't realize this morning when you were getting ready is you have a huge zit on your forehead that nobody told you about. So they're all laughing at you. So then you go home and you're like, Mom, I had the worst day of my life. It was terrible. I gave this presentation and everybody was laughing at me. And then your mom doesn't quite meet your emotional needs. So she doesn't talk to you about your thoughts. She doesn't talk to you about your feelings. And side note, this is called emotional deprivation, just in case you want to know. And you go to bed. And at night, so like here's your little, this is your presentation from the day. Your filer guy is like, oh man, this thing is heavy. There's so much emotion attached to it. It's not about English class. It's not about even that you got picked on, but I don't even know. So he leaves it there. So something I forgot to tell you, when you go to sleep at night, you go through different stages of sleep. One of those stages is REM sleep, rapid eye movement. Your eyes literally go back and forth inside of your head while you're sleeping during this stage. And this is when all the information gets processed over. So you're going through this stage. He doesn't know where to put it. So he just leaves it there. And because of this, tomorrow when you wake up, it will still be there and it will still bother you as much as it did yesterday. So you'll be carrying it with you in your short-term memory. And then let's say 10th grade comes along and you have another presentation to do and you're like, oh my gosh, because you're already thinking about the presentation that you did in 7th grade and how badly that went. And now it's connecting to it. And it's like you're starting to create this little neural network in the short-term part of your memory instead of the long-term. And then you grow up and you become an entrepreneur and you meet Melanie and Lair. And she's like, guys, we should go live and do lives. And it helped me so much. And you like try to press that button and you can't because you remember being in 7th grade and you just can't even bring yourself to press that button.
I'm so sorry, you guys.
No. It's just the only thing I could think of.
So clearly.
Does this make sense though?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So the way that you know that something is not processed appropriately and is not being stored in your long-term memory is because if I ask you, when you think about this thing from 7th grade, 0 to 10, how much does it bother you today? And if you give me a number that's not 0, then it's still in your short-term memory and it's still affecting you. Okay. The way that it affects you is because with everything, with every event, you carry a negative belief about yourself. Okay. So if we think about the 7th grade presentation, then it would be like, when I think about giving that presentation, it bothers me at like a 6 out of 10. And I'm making it mean that I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough, or I don't belong, right? That's where these thoughts that we have are coming from. And then lastly, so just so that everyone's aware, these things are actually traumas. Okay, this is what a trauma actually is. A trauma doesn't have to be this huge thing that we might think that it is. It can be these little things that happen that we might even have forgotten about happened, but we're still carrying it with us. And the last part is it's held in the body, right? This is why that nervous system regulation is so important. That's why the somatic work is important, because we do hold it in our body. And so the process that I take women through now is in one session, typically under 1 hour, I will get that number to 0. However much it's bothering you, we get it to 0. The negative belief, we switch it with a positive belief so that you end the session completely knowing that this negative belief is not true and that you are enough. You are worthy. You do belong. And then the last part is we clear out the body, because we want to make sure that even though our mind knows that it's true, our body really needs to get on board with it too.
Whoa.
Yeah. So does
So,
this help you to like better understand like where maybe some fears are coming from, or maybe why we have limiting beliefs about ourselves?
I mean, I can answer for myself. I 100%. My question is, does the work that you do take it from short term and move it to long term, or does it just
Mhm.
eradicate it?
No, it moves it away to long term. So like some people will come and they're like, if especially with grief, they're like, I don't want to grieve at an 8 every day of my life, but I'm afraid to work on my grief because I don't want to not think about them. I don't want to forget the good times, right? And that's what this work does, is it moves it to the long term so that it's no longer bothering you, so that you don't have a negative story about it, and so that you're not feeling it in your body, but you can remember the good times, right? And even like the traumatic things that I've went through, I can look at those traumas and I can say, yeah, it happened, but it doesn't have to bother me. Yeah, it happened, but that happened for me. And yes, it happened, but that was my past and this is me now. And I get to choose who I want to be going forward, regardless of what I went through.
Mm. So in 1 hour, you go from taking the belief to whatever number it is to 0.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, you rewrite a negative belief into a positive belief. And on top of that, you rewire it in the body in one session.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so many women in the channel right now, and like participants and people are saying it really works and it's worked. A lot of people who are here have done this with you.
They have. Yes.
That's quite extraordinary.
Yeah. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Do you have any questions about this?
Does anyone in the chat have any questions about this? Maybe we could, if there's anyone that has questions, you can definitely ask and I'll pull them up. Can you give us an example of a couple of people without naming names that you've worked with that what kind of beliefs that they may have brought or what kind of short-term?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to close this just so that we can look at each other again. Um, Dang. It's all sorts of things. So I've helped women with pain, women who went to the doctor and they didn't know, like the doctor didn't know where it was coming from. It was because it was emotional pain. It was stored pain that they didn't realize was related to something else. I've helped women with their fears, with really stepping into their woo-woo and worrying about judgment from other people. Like they really wanted their business to reflect this, but they're worried what people are going to say or how people are going to judge them. I help them clear that up. I help people be better moms. Like I don't have patience with my children and I don't know why, right? Like that I help people with. Really, there's so much. There's a lot that I can help.
So let's see, we have a few things. Someone says, would it be the same effect for memory loss? I forget a lot. Does that have to do with buried things that are buried so deep that you automatically forget? I don't remember my kids being small or my childhood.
Yes, definitely. So, our brain is always trying to protect us. That's why sometimes it creates stories or has us fear things because it wants to protect us. But also, when we are in that trauma response of the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, that does something to our nervous system and that does something to our brain. And so, yes, I have seen many people who don't have memories of certain things. And, there's one of two ways you can go about it. Like you can go deeper into it to remember. But also, if it's something with a trauma, we don't necessarily have to remember the thing to get through the thing, right? We can just release it without having to go through all of the details and the nitty-gritty of what happened. We don't have to relive it.
So a lot of people are asking if they want to find you after this, what's the best way to communicate with you? So what do you prefer, Facebook? Do you prefer Instagram? Do you prefer your email? What's best for you?
I really like Facebook.
Okay. So that'll be easy because she's in the Facebook group. So you'll just find her name, find her on Facebook. Okay. Another question. Should you take someone says you should take a clip of this and post it on your socials. People will be lining up to get their sessions. It's a very good idea. Jenny says, I've done this with Colleen and she's amazing. Okay. Does this open up emotion? Like when processing, do emotions arise?
Yeah, we always have emotions.
So you've got to be prepared. This is not a walk in the park. You don't just go, you're fixed.
Oh, emotions like that. Yeah. So, what's hard for me is there's a lot of preconceived ideas of what trauma work is. There's ideas that it has to take a long time. There's ideas that you have to, work hard to get through it. That like it's so emotional and it's so taxing. And really, I would say the first 30 seconds to a minute is the worst. And it doesn't even have to be either. Like if people come to me and they're at a 10 out of 10, then I don't even talk about the trauma. I can I can do a little magic and they don't even have to tell me what the trauma is, and we can get it down to an 8 before we even talk about what the trauma is.
Wow. That's helpful.
It is helpful. Yeah.
Someone is asking if it's similar to EMDR.
It's super similar to EMDR. So the basis of like the questions, that the 3 things that I showed you about 0 to 10, the negative belief to the positive, and then being in the body, that is based upon EMDR therapy. But the process that I take people through is a little bit different, because when I became an EMDR therapist, I wasn't the typical therapist. I met with consultation and I said, why do we do this? Is this really necessary? What is this actually doing for people? And, I was reading books and I was taking classes and I was going deeper into what about EMDR therapy actually works and what doesn't. And then so I took everything that actually does work from EMDR therapy or other therapies that I've used before. And then I kind of intertwined it with, energetics and Reiki and the healing world. And you just like take a little bit of everything and you kind of put it together. And then you give people what they need when they need it. And I'm always being guided. Like I'm starting to just claim that I have some spiritual gifts. And so sometimes like I will get, Juliet, I love you. I will get like the clairvoyance, like I'll get a vision of what they're supposed to be doing next. And I'm like, okay, like this is where we're supposed to go. And then it just goes. Like, I know that the angels are here supporting me. I know that things are happening through me for them. And I just surrender to it and I go where it takes us. And that is how the magic happens.
I have a feeling you're going to get a lot of messages. I'm just going to say it like this. Like, this is so clear. This is brilliant. Okay, what if the belief is very stubborn, or if so many are wrapped together?
So those are 2 questions, right? So the stubborn belief versus the being wrapped together. So if it's a stubborn belief, the thing that makes the difference is your willingness to let it go. If you come to me and you yourself aren't ready to let it go, it's going to be harder. That's what makes it stubborn. But if you come to me, like I went to Homaya that one day and I was like, I am ready. Just give me everything. And she blew on me and whoof, there I went. Like it can just release. Like I have had people release huge traumas in under a minute. And I was like, but it was because they were ready to, right? So That's the stubborn one. And then the ones that are clumped together. So when I was drawing you the picture and I talked about emotional deprivation. So emotional deprivation is a therapy term used when people don't get their needs met on an emotional level, and it's broken into three categories. So either our parents didn't give us one or all of the three. It's either deprivation of nurturance, where like you didn't get that caring, loving energy from your parents. Deprivation of empathy, where they weren't giving you, they weren't talking to you and caring deeply about like, what do you think about this? Or how do you feel about this? Or like when little Susie did that to you, like, how did that make you feel? Like, talk to you about this stuff. And the other one is deprivation of protection. So it can actually mean like actual protection, or it could mean like guidance or direction. Like, okay, let's talk about what college you want to go to. Like, what are you thinking about doing with your life? Those types of conversations. And so people who come to me who have emotional deprivation, for example, those we can clump together. So instead of doing every single event of when your mom didn't nurture you, we just do the topic of nurturance. And then what happens is when you're processing with me, those little memories in the short-term memory that have to do with your mom not giving you nurturance will start to light up. And then we can clump them together and move them over at once and file them away with your mom.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
This is very fascinating. Okay, another question. So does this work with generational trauma?
Yes. And I love when it works with generational trauma, because I firmly believe in the work that I do, a lot of people are coming and they're saying, listen, like I can see how my mom treated me because of how her mom treated her. And I don't want to do that to my kids. So we got to clear this out. Right. And that is the most beautiful ripple effect. Those are my sessions. I love those so much. Yes, it works. Mhm.
What about something that's like you come from a generation that has experienced a lot of trauma, and you may not necessarily have experienced it yourself, but you're aware of the trauma that has occurred in your family bloodline, and you live with that like outside of what you can consciously put a finger on.
Yeah. So like I said, it's stored in the body. So believe it or not, it does get stored in our DNA, right? Like I had a woman earlier this week, and her first target that we worked on, she's like, like this didn't happen to me, but my trigger warning, my mom's dad decided to attempt when I was in utero, and I can still feel this. So the trauma is being trapped in her body because the mom had it in her body when she was pregnant with her. Right. So those are definitely things that we can work on too. And I want people to know, like, you don't necessarily have to come work with me to do this either. Like, yes, like there is a certain aspect of it where you have to move it over, but also you can start more basic if you don't want to dive into it, or maybe you're not ready to confront these things yet, or maybe you're not ready to release these things yet, and that's okay. You can really just start with noticing your thoughts and noticing your feelings, because this is coming from this past programming, right? So like every experience that we go through, we have a thought about that and we have a feeling about that. And the more times that we bring up those thoughts and those feelings, we are just giving into that old program, like for a long time, I was like, well, this happened to me and I'm going to be mad at this person and I'm going to have this victim consciousness because I went through that and I'm the victim and it's not fair. And when I realized that that's the story that I'm creating for myself, I can then just say, okay, like, number one, where is this coming from? Well, it's coming from that thing that I went through. Number two, what am I making this mean about me? Right? Like that is my favorite question. That is such a life-altering question when you can get down to it and you can say, what am I making this mean about me? And then from there, we can decide, okay, how do I want to show up instead? Who do I want to be? Like, I know, Melanie, you've said that before, and you're one, like, I think it was source codes, like, why am I? Right? It's like, why am I here? Who do I want to show up as every day? And then we decide, okay, that thought, that feeling isn't serving me. I'm going to choose something else. And then people will say to me, well, it's so hard. How do I change that feeling? And what I do, I use my daughter. And I remember when I would pick her up from daycare and she would come running. And she's just so excited. Like, I go to that memory that I have and I just let the love fill up my body. And then from there, like, I'm shifting my energy and I'm saying, okay, now I have a new energy. What's my new thought going to be? Right? Like, we can start there at the small spots if that's how we want to do that.
That's really helpful. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one last question. From someone who's recovered from an eating disorder, can you clear the little thing that remains with body image? Even though the disorder is gone, there's still body distortion.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely, because the body distortion is coming from somewhere. And so we have to get to the root of where that's coming from. And it could be as simple as, like, our parents making comments about eating that ice cream or wearing that thing, right? Like, or boys picking on us in school when we were younger, right? Like, it all comes from somewhere. And as long as we can find the root of it, and even if we don't know what the root of it is, like, we could just start tapping into the feeling that it's creating and start there. You don't have to know the exact experience that you went through. All you have to know is how you're feeling about it and be ready, willing, and able to just let it go.
Is there, of course, Kimberly, is there so I would love to touch this as a almost closing. When we look at what am I making this mean about me? I think this is such an important question. And I think it's something that I can see how we could easily avoid even thinking about that. Like, when you find out that's the question you need to ask yourself, you're like, oh, okay, let's change the subject. Let's go do something else. Like, I don't know that I want to answer that question. And so when someone is taking themselves through this process of what am I making this mean about me, are there different levels to that question? Like, is the first thing that comes out of your mouth the right answer? Do you need to work at it for a while? Is it supposed to feel a certain way when you found the thing? Can you guide us a little bit?
So when I first started asking myself this question, I was typically saying, well, it means that I don't like that thing, or it means that, like, and I was kind of outside of myself. Danielle, this question is everything. Um, so it's a skill, it takes practice to be able to hone in on it. But if some generic ones could be, I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. I did something wrong. I am something wrong. I'm not safe. I can't handle it. Like, these are some of those negative beliefs that we might be holding.
So if we take the example of the person in the classroom that's
Mhm.
got this now short-term memory triangle of chaos, which is, I remember messing up in 7th grade. I remember messing up in 10th grade. Now Melanie's telling me to go live. Bah. So now I'm saying, okay. Why is this so hard? What am I making this mean about me? And so if the first thought is just like that, I'm not good with presentations, like that's not it.
No. So, okay, great. Thank you so much for this. So people will say that to me, right? And I will say, okay, you're not good with presentations, but let's go deeper. What does that mean about you? Right? So just keep asking yourself to go a little bit deeper.
So let's say it's okay. So I'm not good at presentations. You already know this is superficial if you know yourself. You already know that can't be it. That's more of an annoyance. So
Mhm.
can I go a little bit deeper? Can I ask myself deeper? The same question again. Okay, but what do I make that mean about me? Well, I make that mean about me that I'll never be successful.
Mhm.
Could that be it? Or is that still too superficial?
But if you're never going to be successful, what does that mean about you?
That I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And then I get all the chills in my body, right? So you're going to know if you're saying it superficial and you didn't get it. You're going to know, because I think this is one really important thing with a modality like this. And I love what you've said. And I think this is so important. Number one, the people who come to you, they come to you because they're ready to let go of this. They do not come to you because they want to be right one more time that someone else wasn't able to fix them. That is not why they come to you. And if they do, they'll be right about what they came for. There is a very big difference between someone that comes with a superficial belief and is like, well, I guess that's it, and then goes, nothing's changed, versus someone who keeps at it until you say it and you feel it and you're like, twing, oh gosh, that's it. And so unless you're willing, and I guess this attaches to the question before, does this bring up emotions? It will bring up emotions because you've probably added all kinds of stuff in the way of that initial feeling that you don't want to feel. On top of it, you're adding all this other stuff, and until you don't feel it on the surface level, you just avoid doing things to not feel the thing. So what I think is important in this is, like, I love that you've said you don't need to come with me and you can do it on your own. But if you try it on your own and it's not working, it could be because you don't know how deep to go with the question, or in all truth, like, you don't know how to look at yourself with love and compassion and just say, yeah. And then what does that mean? The way you just did it, where I felt a feeling for the person. Like, it's not even me. And I felt it. I was like, oh, that's it. So I think it's just like, yes, you can do it for yourself. Just make sure you don't go with a superficial thought and tell yourself it doesn't work, because you can take yourself close enough, or you can do the deep work with someone once you're ready, but you'll know when you've gone deep. And the superficial version of this is not the same at all. Whoa. So what I would love to know is, for people who are watching this and who say, look, I do a lot of mindset work, and I feel like the mindset work that I do, sometimes it works, and then other times I just feel the same mindset stuff comes back over and over and over again. I have stuff with money. I have stuff with selling. I have stuff with my relationships, sisterhood wounds, trusting women, mentors, authority, believing I can be successful long-term, bankruptcies. Like, I'm afraid of all of it. And I'm just trying to stay positive and tell myself that I can do this because I can. Like, the difference between mindset work and this kind of work is night and day.
Yes.
So if a person is able to go in the mind and take care of it, that's great. But if you keep trying the mindset stuff and it keeps freezing, it's because there's probably a trauma.
Yes. And this is the thing, right? Like, you can do so much mindset work, or you could do so much body work. And if it's still there, then this is why. And, the beautiful thing that I love about what I do is we don't necessarily need the coping skills anymore, right? Like, you need the coping skill because the thing is bothering you and it's going to keep getting re-triggered, and we're going to keep having to cope with it because it keeps getting triggered. And that's so much work, and it's exhausting. And so if we could just get to the root and clear that out, then we don't really even need to use those coping skills as much as we used to. And then we just get to kind of, enjoy life the way that we were meant to.
Okay, I have a last one, question. So let's say someone has realized that their coping skill is like hustling, or being really driven about money, or working out a lot, or something that's it's a coping mechanism, but it's working out for them somehow. And they are terrified, same connection as what you were talking before with the grief, where they're like, I want to work through this, but also I'm afraid I'm going to stop thinking about the person. What if a person's like, I'm afraid of taking care of my coping mechanism, because what if it's my coping mechanism that makes me hustle? What if I don't want to work anymore? What if that coping mechanism of being charismatic and funny and this and that, what if that goes away? What would you say about that?
So this is the equivalent of like pushing the boulder up the hill, right? Like, I am going to do it, right? And, we think it has to be hard sometimes because we've been conditioned to think that it has to be hard, and we have to push and we have to grind. And this is that masculine energy that you talk about. And when we can release the thing that's making us do that, we really get to just relax into the feminine energetics of it. And instead of pushing things to make them happen, we can start allowing things to happen. We can start surrendering. We can start to, come back to our connection with ourself, our connection with source. We can have that spiritual intimacy that, we thought we had to push, but that was just a story that we were telling ourselves to keep ourselves safe that whole time. But it's an illusion. It's not necessary, and it doesn't have to be that hard. And it's going to lead to burnout if we keep doing it that way. Like, it's really not serving us. We can just relax into it, and it gets to be okay. And you're going to love it when you shift, because you don't even know. You don't even know what you're missing right now. It's amazing.
So what I really love about all of this is it couples so much with everything that I profoundly believe in. And I have shared with people in the past, if ever there's been something that they're really not able to let go of, I'm like, I think there's probably a trauma there. It would be a great idea to do some trauma work, because I don't know how it happened that a lot of what I've built up from past traumas and things like that, when I went through that time in my car, a lot of the stuff got processed somehow. Just being alone with myself and not being able to numb it. Like, I had no food, I had no alcohol, I had no cheap TV, like there was nothing to numb it with. And so I was faced with it. And I feel like it really did kind of untangle a lot of things for me. And so there's a lot of my beliefs now that are idealistic, but they come from an untangled place. And so when I share them with people who get kind of like, that's not possible, or I don't know how to do that, or it's easy for you, what I try to guide them into is that if it's not feeling possible to access this with your mind or with your heart and your body as it is, then there might be a trauma there, and it's about getting that extra support. And so it works well in conjunction with business coaching, with life coaching, with relationship coaching, because knowing what to do and what to say, like me saying, okay, let's go, let's do a Facebook Live, or let's do a cell, like this is what we need to do. We need to know the steps. But if your body goes, then having work like this in conjunction is just the golden ticket, because it's not just about let's rewire everything and then I still don't know what to do. And it's also not push through everything. And it doesn't matter that it's a trauma loop. It's like, if you can release the trauma and then do what you've got to do until you hit another trauma, and release that trauma and then do what you've got to do, then you end up going everywhere you need to go.
Exactly. You got it.
Well, this is fantastic. I am very grateful for this session. This is brilliant. I think a lot of people got a lot more than they thought they would out of this session. So thank you for this so much.
That's all I was hoping for.
I know. Is there anything that you wanted to give as a final statement? Any thoughts, words, anything you wanted to give people as a wrap up?
I think as I look over my life, what has helped me the most is listening to my intuition. And when it says do the thing, when the part of me wants to shrink back and not do the thing, I'm like, no, you got to do the thing. They told you to do the thing. You got to do the thing. And so it's just like trust and leap and trust and leap. And you never will know where it will take you exactly. But as long as you just keep going, you will go where you're meant to be.
That is beautiful. Thank you for that. And so now that we have heard the brilliance that is Colleen, I would like to read you her bio. Now that you understand who she is. And again, I love to read the bios at the end, because bios don't matter until you care about a person. Before that, they're just accolades and things to put a person on a pedestal. But now let's honor Colleen for who she is. Colleen is a teacher, healer, and therapist. For over 10 years, she's offered her services as a licensed mental health counselor. She has always been a pioneer in her field, supporting therapists in deepening their skills, providing trainings, and creating programs to serve clients. In 2018, while working with the New York Army National Guard, Colleen received an achievement award for providing world-class support and expertise, innovative ideas, and dedication. In 2021, Colleen felt the calling to step into her true nature of being a healer and channel. With her deep understanding of how our past experiences create vast limitations in our brain, body, and energy, Colleen created her zero impact method and 4-part framework for authentic success and true wealth. Colleen uses her gifts to see people as their whole potential selves and to guide them in rapidly releasing any false identity while attuning to their higher light. Her clients feel born anew. They're returning home to what has always been inside of them, awakening their light and aligning with their divine purpose. Colleen is guiding women all over the world in rapidly releasing internal barriers, reclaiming their uniqueness, feeling liberation after liberation, elevating their frequency, and magnetizing their desires with their own pure light. Well, if that's not a masterpiece, this is spectacular. And I think what is the most beautiful thing is with all of these accolades, with everything that you've done, with everything you've created, you just have this heart of gold. You have both. You're an extraordinary person and you're extraordinary at what you do. And I think for this kind of work, that's a winning combination. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for who you have been for me in the last 2 years. I love you so deeply. And I'm so grateful we got to have this beautiful session today. I'm sending you so much love and a big squeeze. And I'm going to have quotes of you. We're going to post those in the group later so people can find you through Facebook. We're going to tag all your things when we put this up on YouTube also so people can find you. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for leading the way, for modeling how to lead with your heart, for showing up for your energy, for creating the spaces that you create. Like, your heart showed me how to have heart. So thank you.
That means the world to me. I squeeze you. I love you so deeply, and I will see you on the internet. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you this afternoon for the next call. Bye.